your introduction, so I won't waste any time on that. And I think we all discussed this is not about chest thumping feminism. This conversation is not about that. Some of us are very privileged. We've had the education. Some of us have been able to break the glass ceiling, but we have no idea about what's happening in the rest of the country. You have had the privilege, all three of you, of working with women who don't know what their rights are, who are underprivileged, sometimes living under a very strict patriarchal regime. So you have been working with them, so we want to hear their stories through you. So Sowmya, I'm going to start with you. You've taken up this huge, huge legacy of Barefoot College, helping the poorest of the poor, skilling women to lead their villages, to earn livelihoods. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So, I joined Barefoot College 2 years ago as Bankar Roy's successor. Not very easy shoes to fit into, though our feet size are the same. And I have a pair of Hawaii chappals there that Aruna keeps saying, you leave it and he starts wearing it. So, but yes, the kind of legacy that he has built is quite incredible. I come from an extremely privileged background that's not lost on me. In fact, my first foray into rural Rajasthan was also quite something. I didn't know that Rajasthan did not have rain all over. So I land up in Jaipur, and then on the drive all the way to Vyawar and beyond that to Rajsamand, where Aruna used to work, and that's where I started my journey in Rajasthan. I kept asking कि यहाँ तो रेत ही नहीं है, and they said all of. So that just tells you how completely clueless I was. I think what I have learned in the last 30 years of my journey is that women don't need empowerment. That's actually a wrong word. Women just need opportunities. They'll empower themselves. हम होते कौन है यार empower करने के लिए? And who are you to empower me? What is your idea of empowerment? What is my idea of empowerment? My idea of empowerment is not to get married, not to have kids, but to focus on a career or focus on my life. Someone else might say that I want to get married, I want to have kids, I also want a career. Am I going to say mine is a better opportunity or a better way of life? So I think this whole notion of abila nari, uski madad hum kare, अरे नहीं यार, मौका दो हम मदद खुद कर लेंगे. We are quite good at doing that. So I actually spent my first year learning I relearned living. While all my friends were joining the UN and other organizations, I spent my time learning how to cook on a chula, fetching water on my head in a matki, cooking on the chulha, also learning ki kis tarike ka, tinka you need and what kind of wood. Sometimes I would be challenged ki lakdi tod ke dikhao. The only thing I mastered was carrying the matkas on my head. It also taught me that in summer, you needed 40 strokes of the hand pump to be able to fill a matki, whereas in all other seasons, 20 strokes were enough. And I had the best pair of arms. I did not have to go to a gym. So I think this whole notion of empowerment is what we go in with. Women just need opportunities. Education, the ability to step out, the ability to fight their battles. Who am I to tell somebody what they should wear or not wear? Bikini pehno problem hai, hijab pehno problem hai, karen kya? So you decide. Are you going to decide what my empowerment should be? So, and rural poor women are not high bichari. They are dhakad. If their husband comes back drunk and beats them, then they know how to lagao 2 lappads, which he won't remember the next morning, but she's had her revenge. So I think that journey has been, for me, very powerful. And of course, came with it teaching them life skills. So we reached 96 countries teaching women how to become barefoot solar engineers. Today, the world is talking about renewable energy in 2020s. Bankar Roy started it in the late 1990s, early 2000, when women from all over the global south came to Telonia to learn how to become Barefoot solar engineers. And when he was asked recently by Aruna, "Kya karte the yaar? You used to land in a country, what would you do?" He'd say, "I'd catch the next bus into a village and say, batao, ki kya kar sakte hain aapke liye." So that's the legacy of Barefoot College that I think I'm very lucky to have inherited, and it's a privilege.
You know, we've been following the work of Barefoot College for a very long time. Many of you probably don't even know about them. I would encourage you to go and see the immensely wonderful work that they do. I mean, you've all heard of Bankar Roy and Aruna Roy, of course. That legacy is huge, and Sowmya has very able shoulders.
Just to add, people ask me, "Aapka college kya karta hai?" And I'm like, we are not a college. It was called the Social Work and Research Center. And Bankar, in his moment of brilliance or whatever, at some point added Barefoot College because he said, "Stephens jata hu, to log kehte, oh, Saint Stephens se ho, you know." He said, just because somebody from Telonia has not gone to a college, he's not skilled. We will call it Barefoot College. मतलब हमें तुम्हारी डिग्री की ज़रूरत नहीं है, हमारे पास experience है.
Amazing is that?
So I just want to put that out. We are a non-government organization. We are not a college. हम डिग्रियाँ नहीं देते हैं, पर हम सीख देते हैं, experience देते हैं. वो डिग्री से बढ़कर है.
Wow. We'll come back to you, Sowmya. Manju, over to you. You are from this state, and we've been hearing throughout the day from Mrs. Sridhanya, from Rupeshji, you know, about the immense strides Kerala has taken in empowering women. I mean, we've all heard of Kudumbashree in our line of work. We know there's tremendous work happening, and women are taking the forefront there. You work, on the other hand, with tribal communities. You know, it's a very different world from what many of us live in. You are also teaching them skills. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do and the kind of stories that you hear about their lives?
Well, thanks, Sonali. Firstly, to have me on board, and I come with very little experience in the technical word, gender, but I'll share what I can from what we do at, you know, in Central Kerala. So, to go back a little bit, I've always felt that being an ecology researcher, you are always accompanied by indigenous people, and it's their knowledge that helps you secure a degree. You know, they have to tell you where the flower is blooming, where the hornbill is nesting, and then they don't even end up as co-authors in your manuscripts. But coming from that and to now working with women, upskilling them, we work with 8 tribal women's groups across Central Kerala. We work closely with the Forest Department. And actually, what we're seeing is that, like Sowmya said, it is not empowerment. I've never seen this as empowerment. I've seen this as whenever they share a recipe with us or a way of life with us, we are the ones, mainstream communities are the ones benefiting from this, you know? Because what we are seeing is a glimpse of a more sustainable way of life. They seem to know how to manage their land and water, and nobody has taught them this. They've been coexisting with wildlife for centuries without any issues. But we like to see them as backward and, oh, they need to be, their lives need to improve. I think that narrative has to shift largely across the country with the government, even in the NGO sector. I think it's very important to go down and listen to their voices. And actually, we work with women who are artisans also, the bamboo craft women, other women who have great culinary skills. And whenever they bring these, you know, on board, we've seen that it's so much enriched. We don't really need to do much except maybe do the storytelling part of it, because they can't necessarily do the storytelling. But yeah, so I think it's overall been a learning experience, and everybody who comes face to face. So when in our responsible tourism interface, what we have done is our women get to interact with students from abroad, from experiential travel, immersive travel groups, very mindful, those who are respectful of their there is a sense of value and validation and acknowledgement of the knowledge and their courage and their way of life, as against, say, what you see in a mainstream tourism, setup, even in Varachal, for example, where we work. Of course, they're given jobs, but they're somehow invisible. You know what I mean? It's ticket counter jobs, it's cleaning jobs, there is no room or space there for their worth, for their true knowledge, for what they know about the forest and the river that they depend on. So those are elements that get lost in that sort of a job. And we've seen that, the moment you start telling them that, look, there's value in, sometimes I exaggerate when I'm with them. I'll go and tell them, I'll come with you for bamboo harvest. And, like Sowmya was saying, she would hold the thing on her head, matka. They will have big, bundles of bamboo on their head, and I'll have a smaller bundle on my shoulder. And then they would always say, no, don't come with us. We'll keep the mats ready when you come back. But the point is that, you have to, they always feel that what they're doing is somewhat backward. Nahi, aap nahi aa paayenge, this is, it's difficult, there are leeches, there are snakes. I'm like, that's okay, I'm a researcher, I'm a wildlifer. So, but the fact that you give value to their knowledge and, because people who have worked with communities, they seem to know when to harvest, how to. This morning, we heard that talk about, from Ladakh. It's about knowing when to eat what and when to harvest something, when not to harvest something, when to leave enough for the wildlife. All of this, no book on sustainability is going to give you. But still, we are talking about empowering tribal communities. I mean, really, we need to empower ourselves, so that's somewhat the gist of it.
True is that. And again, I encourage you to go to Forest Post's website. I mean, Manju and her partners have done such a wonderful job. The products that they sell are so unique, I mean, we've collaborated in the past, so it's absolutely fantastic what they do. I'll again come back to you, Manju. Coming to you, Peeja. You work in this state, one of the, I would say most progressive states where the rights of women, and you're working with UN Women. Tell us a little bit about your experience here.
Thank you all. Very good afternoon. I'm Dr. Peeja. I represent United Nations Women Empowerment Program, UN Women. It's a separate department under United Nations for Gender Equality and Women Empowerment. So I started my career as a medical officer. So 10 years I have worked with government, and during that time I had the opportunity to work with Sargaalaya, a government project to address mental issues women face. Usually the domestic violence case, intimate partner violence cases, and dowry cases came to us. So from that time onwards, I'm hearing the gender-based violence issues, and I had this inner feeling that I should not be just prescribing some medicine or advising something. I should be doing, and I had that feeling that I'm able to provide something more, contribute something more. Then during that COVID time, I was able to be a consultant with Kudumbashree. Then I came to realize that, I don't have to give anything. I don't have to do. These women are so much strong. They are so empowered themselves. You don't have to provide anything. Just provide the environment. Just provide the ecosystem where they can flourish. They can bring their potential. Then after Kudumbashree, I had the opportunity to join UN Women. And during the initial phases, I worked as a national consultant, so I was able to work in Assam, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, etc., for various projects. So I had the chances to mingle with their government programs and all. Then from 2023 onwards, I'm working with Responsible Tourism Mission, Government of Kerala, under the Department of Tourism. Then the way the government works, it's amazing. And whenever I am talking about this in UN Women, they say, you are working with UN Women. You are not the government person from Kerala, okay? But I have to say this, the way government of Kerala is working. The responsible tourism has worked. And I should say that from 2008, when Kumaragam was the first model destination for this RT mission program, after around 17, 18 years, now Kumaragam is going to be one of the women-friendly tourism panchayats to be declared as. So the change don't come overnight. It needs perseverance. It needs input. So government has been working over and over again, implementing programs in various tourism destinations. And I have live examples here, the national award winner, Jisha Vinod. There is Indu is there, a very ardent traveler, and she's the owner of a travel company and a very good organizer. Indu is there, and Ambli Chechi, who's a very good cook and runs an ethnic kitchen, and Sri Devi is there, another traveler. These all people, and lots of them. If I miss some names, yeah, they'll kill me, so sorry. But they are all examples of empowered women. We are not super women, we don't want to be. We have our own super abilities. Let us have that ability come out, give us that environment to grow, and the ecosystem which enables us to develop. That's all. Thank you. And I should let you know how many RT units are, women RT units are under government. Around 17,800 women RT units are there. Out of the 26,000 RT units, 17,800 are women RT units. And 78,000 women are associated with these RT units in Kerala.
That's wonderful to know. You know, coming back to what you raised, Manju, very often women don't see any worth in what they are doing, whether it's cooking for their families, foraging for food, etc. You know, we saw that beautiful video that Julie played on the granny. Yeah. And I'm very proud to say we've been to Granny's house in Thimbang village. She laid out a superlative meal for us. I mean, it was incredible. But you know, they really don't see any worth in what they are doing. Sowmya, yesterday when we were speaking over dinner, you told us that absolutely lovely and funny story about the lady who went to another village to repair a hand pump. Give us some examples of, you know, what you've heard so that we know what women can do.
So the example that I gave you yesterday, fixing hand pumps in the early 70s was seen as a man's domain. महिलाएं नहीं कर सकती हैं. Why? They're weak physically, ताकत नहीं है, उठा नहीं पाएंगे, they won't be able to repair stuff. So recently I had someone who came visiting saying we want to meet the original, you know, the initial batch of hand pump mistris. So I went along with them. I hadn't met her, I'd heard of her story. So in Marwadi, I mean, I was there trying to translate. And in Marwadi, she was explaining to them how the entire village came to watch her repair a hand pump. The women with their faces covered under the veil say, "आ काम करेगी, मतलब ये कर लेगी क्या?" And the men said, "ये तो नहीं हुए, मतलब ये नहीं कर पाएगी." And she went there. When she tried to take out the nuts, naturally they were very tight. बहुत पुराना hand pump था. So there was great joy on one side कि नहीं कर पाएगी. And the women were rooting for कर लो. So she put a little oil and then the nuts came loose. And she tried heaving it twice and she couldn't pick it up. And she could hear men say, "लोग आए तो नहीं कर सके." You know, she's a woman, she's not going to be able to do it. And then she said, I decided कि करना ही है, दिखाऊंगी उनको. And so dramatically she showed me, she said, "यान उठाए मैं यूं पटकियो, पूरा गांव एकदम चट, मतलब they were all quite phased out." She said, "I repaired it and I showed it." Northi Masi, who I've met over the years because of her minimum wage battle, used to work with the Barefoot College, became Sarpanch, incredible. Dalit woman, became a Sarpanch. Aruna calls her not just her best friend, but also her guru. So Northi Masi at 70 or 65 or 70 came and told Bankar, "Oh Bankar ji, अब मुझे लड़ाई वड़ाई नहीं करनी है, मैं तो कंप्यूटर सीखूंगी." So he said, "जाओ सीख लो." She's never been to school, never ever, she can't read. She taught herself the computer. An incredible woman that she was, she taught herself the computer, she taught herself Excel. She made sure when she became the sarpanch, a Dalit woman sarpanch of her village, she made the gram sevak enter all the accounts into the computer, rote dhote. She said, "Mane jahan to nahi chale. The to karo, mare samne karo." And she kind of encouraged other girls to say that there is no age to learn. So for me, and again, in her village, Harmada, it was impossible. The Muslims had been fighting for years for a burial ground. कोई नहीं दे रहा था. वो सरपंच बनी, उसने लड़ाई करके उनको ज़मीन दिलवाई कि हमारा है तो उनका कैसे नहीं हो सकता है. So for me, these people are icons. I am an administrator and I am a lifelong learner. So I don't come as, Barefoot College ki CEO and director. As an administrator, yes, that's a tag. But what motivates me on a daily basis is these women. I cannot be like them. What they teach me on a daily basis is the humility that ye kitabi, Columbia se padhi hai, degree hai. That's what people are so enamored about. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what they've taught me, no school, college could have taught me. And for that, for lifelong, I am indebted and I am totally in gratitude towards them. That's the only thing I can say. And we don't encourage our children to want to go beyond. Matlab, the South I see, engineer banega, doctor banega, there's no alternative. So for me, actually coming here was a learning experience. I thought I live in my own bubble most of the time. So I said, chalo dekhte hain, hota kya hai responsible tourism.
I'm so glad.
And I'm so glad I came because I've learned a million things that I can go back and say. One of the things that I've been trying to also look at is in places like the Northeast, Sikkim, other places where we have a presence, whether we can, homestays can be converted into solar-based, where you train the women to maintain it. You don't need a technician. In fact, under this PM Surya Ghar or whatever they're announcing, our policies are also very silly. We've said, we've given a kilowatt which the poor don't need. उनके छत पे आप उतना बड़ा बना नहीं सकते हो. तो in fact, the policy is actually completely towards urban households. But if each of these women could be trained, panchayats, crores of rupees that Rajasthan government has spent on infrastructure and most states will follow. There's no maintenance. We love infrastructure. We hate maintenance. Recurring cost, waste of time, waste of money. अरे तुम घर के छत को रेगुलरली पेंट या ठीक नहीं करोगे तो छत गिरेगा. 500 रुपए उस पर खर्चा नहीं कर सकते हो, 500 करोड़ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे खर्चा कर दो. पेनी वाइज बाउंड फूलिश कि और कोई कहानी नहीं हो सकती है गवर्नेंस में एक्सेप्ट दिस. सो आई हैव एक्चुअली बीन सेइंग लेट्स ट्राई आउट दिस मॉडल ऑफ ट्रेनिंग वुमेन in the local areas who have homestays to actually get onto a solar.
There's a lot of work that's happening in that space. There are a few companies that are doing it in the private sector, of course, allied to travel and tourism. A lot of work happening in Ladakh, in Meghalaya, in Nagaland, Madhya Pradesh. So, there is bits happening and women are also being trained. So that's really incredible. Manju, coming back to you. So, the communities that you work with, the Kannadipaya, for example, they have a particular weave which is used for a particular reason, maybe to sleep on, to rest on. You have actually shown them the way to make it more accessible to maybe urban communities, by making bookmarks, etc. How were these suggestions that you gave to them, how were these taken by the community?
Well, what we saw was the older women were a little hesitant to try new sizes. but the younger women always liked the challenge. And the bookmark, there are 15 women artisans, but there's only one woman who can do the bookmark. And the older ones, the really senior weavers, they just look at her and like, wow, how is she doing this? Because I think you need sharper eyesight also. None of them wear specs or anything. That said, the most recent experience we had was we collaborating with this brand called Malai. They're into eco leather, which is made out of coconut water. You guys should look up Malai, M-A-L-A-I. So she gave us these strands made of the Malai fiber, thin strips, and she said, can we try a fusion weave? I think 60% of the women rejected it. But when they started trying it, they said, oh, this is easy. They started calling it rubber, because it's a little rubbery, and then they would call me and say, okay, rubber ka ban gaya hai, aap kab aa rahe ho, and all. But overall, from the stage 6 years ago where we first went, where I thought that, like everywhere craft is vanishing, Kannadi Pai ka kya hone wala hai, who's going to buy this thing? Binale was very, very good for us because at one of the outlets, it got visibility. We made a few sales, the big ones as well as the placemat sizes. But a lot of people have told me craft has no future. So, you hear these things and then you don't know what to make out of it, because when you go to these villages, it's their way of life, right? For them, well, if we stop selling Kannadi Payas, they'll stop making it probably, except for their festivals. They make a very basic version for their drying their pepper and arrowroot. But the exquisite ones are going to go away if we don't. So what I was coming to is, so initially we thought only the older women are weaving. But I precisely remember that day we were in this particular village with Urav's team. And Urav is Wayanad's bamboo pioneer group. They've done a lot of work in bamboo. We wanted some bamboo treatment to be taught to our women so that, some smoking, some boric powder treatment, so that the shelf life is higher. This young girl came up to me, barely 24, and she said, Chechi, Nyanum madam, I also weave. Why aren't you taking my stuff? I said, show me, what do you have? And she brought me this big mat, and then the big one, 6x3 yoga mat size. And it was beautiful. I had to buy it that minute. I said, we always buy uphand. We don't know whether it will sell or not. But I remember asking her, what shall we pay you for this? What would you like? Because actually, it was one of the finest mats I had seen in the village. She said, kuch bhi de do. And I'm sure anybody here sitting in this audience who's worked in communities has heard that before. Like you said, they don't know the worth of it. Not only women, sometimes men also don't know the worth of it. And so then how do you put a price on this? What a burden to know how to put a price on this thing, right? People tell me you should sell a Kannadi Paya for 10,000 rupees. I'm like, really? I mean, is there really a market? I don't know. I'm not from a business background. So there's huge challenges about learning how to price it, seeing the labor of love, the amount of days that has been spent on it. And all of these women, mind you, the agency they possess, the Muduva women that I work with, they do not need a man to go into the forest and cut the bamboo. It's elephant country. It's very risky to go in. It's also hard work. Most of the bamboo is thorny. You could come back bruised. But, that was another lesson. I mean, feminism kya hai? This is what you're seeing on ground. I was really amazed. So those were really moments when, again, how do you put a price on something that has gone through so much? The knowledge of when to harvest, when to weave, how many days to dip it in, salt water, whatever. So, and it's intergenerational. I mean, I think for a lot of them, we've tried asking them, why do you still weave? If there's no market, will you still weave? They say, we'll weave baskets and small mats for our families, for our children. But I have a feeling, this thought came from another friend of mine called Mugdha Trifale. She was writing an article for Vikalp Sangam. And she herself is a crochet and macrame artist. And she was telling me, Manju, I think it's also that women claim these spaces as artists, artisans in their own right. At the end of the day, रात को 8-9 बजे बैठ के weave करना, really you have the energy to do this at night, किसके लिए? I've seen people like Nagama sitting and weaving, even if there's no order, you know? So I think it's there. होता है ना, that steady attention gives you that focus and that sacredness and that spiritual moment and calm, and everything else is cut off. They're just sitting and doing their... That happens to weavers, to cooks, to people who pay attention to something and do. That also I've seen in this particular weaver community. But yeah, I could go on, so put an end.
That's so fascinating to hear. Peeja, coming back to you, tell us some stories about, what has really inspired you with some of the women you've worked with.
Yeah, coming back to, again, responsible tourism and my work in Kerala, not only for responsible tourism, other departments like women and child, transport, or Kudumbashree. So, gender audit. Gender audit is a very scientific way of doing women safety assessment, participatory format and all, in institutions or public spaces, wherever. So we usually hire PhD people who are very, very knowledgeable in that particular. But in Kerala, for 70 tourism destinations, we have done destination safety study with the support of grassroots level women only. We have, with the support of departments and UN Women, trained them, and they were capable of handling all the guidelines, tools to do this safety audits in 70 tourism destinations across Kerala, in various tourism destinations. And following that, 5 panchayats were selected by government, and at that place, women safety audits were conducted by these women only. And the inputs provided by them and the insights and the report came out into a larger framework, which led to the gender inclusive and women-friendly tourism developed with the support of Department of Tourism and UN Women, which has been submitted to the government. So such a huge thing, like a scientific study and a policy development input were provided by the grassroots level. Definitely there were experts, but think of it. So women are capable of doing anything and everything provided they are included. So that is one thing. And as she said, we can go on and on and again.
We'll continue this conversation. It has been fascinating talking to you, and this is a conversation I think we as women, we can sit and have all day. And sometimes, however much we are educated, whatever kind of fancy jobs we have, we forget that, we are worth it somewhere. We'll still think of, oh my God, have I made rice at home? Is there enough food for the husband to eat? Oh my God, that goes on, right? What will happen to my baby if I go travel for a couple of days? So fascinating, and something we can go on and on, but so nice to hear the stories that are actually happening on ground. And thank you all for working with these women and, making them understand their work. Again, not empowering, making them understand their worth, and they can do it.
So before we wrap up, I am an activist. And even while I head the Barefoot College, I don't think the activism can ever leave me. So it's a universally used slogan, but I will still say it. For women, to women, by women, हम अपना अधिकार मांगते नहीं किसी से भीख मांगते. So हम अपना अधिकार मांग रहे हैं, हम किसी से भीख नहीं मांग रहे हैं. So we come with a right, and that right of equality cannot be taken away. Thank you.
So well said. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you.